Part 1. The first message came at 11:42 p.m. I remember the exact time because I was still sitting in my car outside my apartment building when my phone buzzed. I had just finished a late shift and was too tired to go upstairs right away. The city was quiet, the streetlights glowing on the empty road, and I was scrolling through my phone, trying to wake myself up before going inside. Then my phone vibrated. One new message. I glanced down without thinking, and my stomach immediately tightened. The name on the screen was Mark Reynolds. For a moment, I just stared at it. Mark had been my best friend since high school. We grew up on the same street, played the same sports, went to the same college, and last year, Mark died. Car accident on a highway outside Indianapolis. Drunk driver crossed the median. I'm the kind of story you hear about on the news and never expect to be part of. His funeral was 11 months ago. I know that because I still have the black suit hanging in my closet. So when I saw his name pop up on my phone, my brain immediately assumed one thing. Somebody must still have his number, maybe his sister. Maybe the phone company reassigned it. But when I opened the message, my chest tightened. It said only 3 words. "Hey, it's me." I sat there in the driver's seat, reading it again. And again. Then I typed back, "Who is this?" The reply came almost instantly. "You know who it is." My hands felt cold on the steering wheel. There was something strange about the way the message was written. Mark always texted like that. Short sentences, no emojis, no punctuation. And exactly like the messages sitting higher up in the conversation thread from before he died. I scrolled upward. The old texts were still there. The last one from him had been almost a year ago. "You still owe me dinner for losing that bet." I had never replied. Not because I didn't want to, because the police called me 20 minutes later. My phone buzzed again. Another message. "Why are you ignoring me?" I stared at the screen. This had to be someone playing a stupid joke. Someone who knew Mark. Maybe one of our old friends. Maybe someone who found his phone. Still, something about it made my stomach twist. So I decided to test it. I typed, "If this is a joke, it's not funny. Mark is dead." The typing dots appeared almost immediately. Then the reply came. "Yeah, I know." I felt a chill run down my arms. And that wasn't a joke response. That was something else. I looked up from my phone for a second, suddenly aware of how quiet the street around me was. My apartment building stood dark and still across the parking lot. Most of the windows were black. People asleep. No movement. My phone buzzed again. "You still live on Maple Street, 3rd floor, apartment 3B. I sat upright. I hadn't mentioned my address. My heart started beating faster. Anyone who knew me well enough could probably figure out where I lived. Mark had been over dozens of times. Still, something about the message made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I typed again, "Who is this?" A moment passed. Then the answer came. "It's Mark." I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, because the alternative made no sense. "Mark is dead," I typed. On this time, the reply took longer. 10 seconds. 15. Then the message appeared. "Yeah, I know." My stomach dropped. Another message came immediately after. "Listen carefully." My eyes stayed fixed on the screen. The typing dots appeared again. Then the final message arrived. And when I read it, the cold feeling in my chest spread through my entire body. "Don't go home tonight." I looked up slowly. My apartment building stood across the parking lot. Silent. Dark. And for the first time since I moved there, I suddenly had the overwhelming feeling that someone might already be inside. Part 2. I read the message again. "Don't go home tonight." For a few seconds, I just sat there in my car staring at the screen, trying to decide whether I was being pranked or if someone was actually trying to warn me. Either way, the message had done exactly what it was supposed to do. I didn't want to go inside anymore. I looked up at my apartment building again. 3 floors of quiet brick, the same place I had lived for almost 2 years. Nothing looked different. No broken windows, no lights flickering, no movement. Everything looked completely normal. My phone buzzed again. "You're still in your car." I froze. Slowly, I looked around the empty parking lot. There were only 3 cars parked there besides mine. One belonged to Mrs. Carter in 1A, the other to a couple who worked night shifts, and the third one had been sitting there for weeks without moving. No one inside them. No one walking outside. My heart started beating harder. I typed back quickly. "How do you know that?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, the reply came. "Because you always sit in your car for a few minutes before going upstairs." My throat felt dry. That was true. I had been doing that since Mark died. It was a habit I picked up during long shifts. Sometimes I just needed a minute to sit in silence before going inside. But almost nobody knew that. Except Mark. Another message came through. "Listen to me. You need to leave. Right now." I looked back at the building again. The hallway light on the 3rd floor flickered faintly behind the window. My apartment was on the right side. 3B. My phone buzzed again. "Are your lights on upstairs?" I leaned forward slightly in my seat and stared at the building. From the outside, my apartment window looked dark. At least I thought it did. I typed back, "No." The reply came almost immediately. "Good." A second message followed. "Because someone is inside." My chest tightened. I swallowed hard and stared at the building. Every instinct told me to dismiss it as nonsense. But another part of my brain kept whispering something else. What if it wasn't? My phone vibrated again. "He's been there for about 20 minutes. I stared at the message. "Who?" The typing dots appeared again. Then the reply. "The man who broke in." A wave of adrenaline hit me so suddenly that my hands started shaking. "How do you know that?" I typed again. This time the answer took longer. Then the message appeared. "Because I've been watching him." My head snapped up. I scanned the parking lot again, still empty. Streetlights buzzed overhead. Wind pushed a loose piece of paper across the pavement. Nothing else. I looked at the dark windows of the building, then back at my phone. "Where are you?" For a long moment, there was no answer. Then another message arrived, and this one made my stomach drop. "Upstairs." My pulse hammered in my ears. I typed slowly. "You just said someone broke in." The reply came instantly. "Yeah." Another message followed. "That's why you can't come inside." My heart was racing now. "Where upstairs?" The typing dots appeared. Then the message came through. "Your apartment." The inside of my chest felt like ice. I stared at the words for several seconds before typing again. "Oh, that's not funny." My phone buzzed immediately. I'm not joking. Another message. "He's still here." I slowly looked back toward the building. The 3rd floor hallway light flickered again, and for just a second, I thought I saw movement behind my apartment window. I leaned forward in my seat, squinting at the glass. The window was dark, but I could swear something had shifted behind the curtain. My phone vibrated again. "Did you see that?" I froze. My fingers tightened around the phone. "See what?" The reply came slowly this time, like whoever was typing was watching something happen. "He's in the living room now." My breathing stopped. "How do you know that?" 3 dots. Then the message. "Because I'm standing in the hallway, my entire body went cold." Another message followed immediately. "Yeah, and I can hear him moving around inside." For a second, I couldn't move. Then my phone buzzed one more time, and the message that appeared made my heart slam so hard I felt it in my throat. "Don't come upstairs. He just picked up your baseball bat." Part 3. I stared at the message. "He just picked up your baseball bat." My chest felt tight. That bat was in the corner of my living room, right beside the couch. I kept it there mostly out of habit. Mark had given it to me years ago when we played in a local league. Almost nobody knew it was there, except Mark. My hands were shaking now. I typed slowly. "What do I do?" The typing dots appeared. Stopped. then appeared again. Finally, the message came. Leave. Another message followed immediately. Drive away from the building. I looked up at my apartment again. The window was still dark. But now I couldn't stop imagining someone walking around inside my living room, opening cabinets, looking through my things, holding that bat. My phone buzzed again. He's moving toward the hallway. My stomach dropped. Toward the door? I typed. 3 dots appeared. Then the message came. No. Toward the bedroom. I felt my pulse pounding in my neck. Why would he go in there? The reply took a few seconds. When it came, my skin went cold. Because that's where I am. For a moment, the world outside my windshield felt unreal. The parking lot, the streetlights, the quiet road. Everything suddenly felt distant. My brain struggled to keep up. If the messages were real, if somehow the person texting me was actually inside my apartment, then that meant 2 things. 1, someone had broken into my home. 2, the person warning me was somehow still inside. I typed quickly. Call the police. The reply came almost instantly. You already did. I blinked, then I realized. I worked for emergency dispatch. My phone buzzed again. They're 4 minutes away. My throat tightened. How do you know that? The answer came immediately. Because I remember this part. I stared at the message. What do you mean you remember it? The typing dots blinked slowly. Then the reply appeared. Because this already happened. I sat there in silence. A cold knot formed in my chest. My phone vibrated again. Last year. My fingers hovered over the screen. Mark died in a car accident, I typed. The reply came back. That's what they told you. I felt my pulse slam against my ribs. What are you saying? A pause. Then the next message appeared. I died in your apartment. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My brain tried to reject the words, but the message continued. The man inside right now, he's the one who killed me. I gripped the steering wheel. That's impossible. Another message came. He broke in that night too. My chest felt tight. Why would he kill you? The typing dots appeared. Then the reply came. Because he thought I was you. My heart stopped. What? Another message appeared. He followed you home that night. But when he broke in, I was the one inside. I felt dizzy. My brain replayed the night Mark died. The police report, the crash, the closed casket. I had never actually seen his body. My phone buzzed again. He thought he finished the job. Another message followed. But he's back now. I looked up at the apartment window again. My entire body felt tense. Why? The typing dots blinked again. Then the message appeared. Because this time, you're actually home. My hands went numb. My phone buzzed again. You have 2 minutes before the police arrive. I swallowed hard. What do I do? Then the response came immediately. Leave. Another message followed. Don't ever go back into that apartment again. I stared at the screen. Then I looked back at the building. The 3rd floor hallway light flickered once. And this time, the curtain in my living room window moved. Slowly. Like someone had just stepped up to it. My heart slammed in my chest. My phone buzzed one last time. He sees your car. For half a second, I couldn't move. Then another message appeared, and it was the last one I ever received from Mark. Drive. Now. I didn't think. I threw the car into gear and slammed the gas. The tires squealed as I pulled out of the parking lot and sped down Maple Street without looking back. About 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something made me answer. It was one of the responding officers. Mr. Harper? Yes. Sir, we're at your apartment now. My hands tightened around the wheel. And? There was a pause on the other end. Then the officer said something that made my blood run cold. Your front door was open. My heart pounded. Did you find anyone inside? Another pause. Then he answered. I held my breath. The officer continued slowly. We found a man hiding in your bedroom closet. My pulse hammered in my ears. Is he under arrest? Another pause. Then the officer said something that still wakes me up at night. No, sir. He's dead. I drove for another 20 minutes before finally pulling over. My hands were still shaking when I looked down at my phone. The conversation with Mark was still open, but the number at the top was gone. Just an empty contact, no messages, no history, like it had never existed. Except for one thing. Pinned at the bottom of the screen, the very last message. Don't go home tonight.